Right now, there are people who have finished their projects, but that project was in respect of the last financial year. We have not done our first supplementary. So they cannot be paid until the first supplementary is done. Those are the payments you hear still being called pending bills. Why must we do a supplementary? A supplementary removes this other budget and brings those payments inside that budget together with the funds which were allocated to them as a rollover. So you will find what happens in county, like Nakuru, the first supplementary, like now we are in December, we have not done the supplementary. We might do it in February. You finished your work, say July, but I'm taking you up to February because the budget is still not having that rollover. Are you getting the problem? So the main thing is, how can we do the first supplementary immediately we start the financial year? And this is what will save the suppliers. And this should be a collaboration between the executive and the assembly. The other thing which you find in a supplementary, when you try to introduce a supplementary to the assembly and you only want to bring in this project so that they can be paid, other issues crop up. They want to adjust the projects, they want to adjust other expenditures, so it is a pool here. So you'll find, like now we are going to almost January. If they approve a supplementary in March, you see, we shall have only 3 months to close the financial year. So those are the delay we are experiencing. So the main issue here is, how can we roll over the projects of the previous financial year as fast as possible?
Okay, thank you very much for that elaborate explanation. A lot of things emerging from your feedback that I'm sure our audience will be able to follow up. But as you were sharing that with us, because there's a lot of background work that is happening in the county, that the supplier out here is not privy to. I want Obama to respond to this. The question I want to ask is for you.
Yes.
Before we go back to the director. There's a lot of background, there's a lot of work and issues going on within the county that affect the payment. You've talked about the supplementary process, for instance. Yeah, you've talked about the inspection. There are those issues that you said touch on the contractor, that they finished the work and maybe they did not provide all the documentation that was required. As the contractor waits for all these processes to complete, I want to ask Obama about his experience on the communication. How is the county communicating with the suppliers to let them know you have not been paid because you did not provide certain documentation, for instance, or you have not been paid because your budget was in the previous financial year and now we are in this financial year and we've got to go through the supplementary process. Obama, as a person sitting outside the county government, not knowing what is actually going on in the background, how does the county communicate to you as suppliers in the event of delayed payment? Because you told us that sometimes you will receive partial payment, or sometimes you don't get payment at all. You have to go and finance that entire project, complete it, and then submit your request for payment from the county, who has to go and inspect and maybe identify some gaps and then come back to you. How is that communication? Very briefly, in like just a minute, what has been your experience? Do you receive the communication and in what form?
Bansi, thank you. Let me request not a minute, because this is where the critique of all this procurement lies. Our director has talked about inspection. In terms of construction like a classroom like this, it is not a one-thing inspection that is being done after the completion of the construction. One, there is inspection by the engineers from the county government. That is when you are laying a foundation. After you have laid the foundation, they came to inspect it, whether it is correctly measured. After that, then you put on the foundation. You laid now a foundation. After that laying up now the foundation, the engineers come in again to inspect and to certify whether it is correct. With that, you are being given a notification to go ahead to a certain level. Then now it comes to walling. After you have done with the walling, they come again to inspect that. Then roofing, then putting up iron sheet, then now flooring. After that, and then now the completion of the work done. During this Bansi and the audience, it is not a one-man show. It is all collective. That before the county government engineers come to inspect, you cannot move to a certain level. Bansi, I have my friends here, like Kuti, like Peter, like Kabwao. With the small supplies, inspection of the supplies of like tissue papers and others is being done immediately when you have submitted, you are supplying the department with these items. They do the visibility of inspection at that particular time and they approve it. That now these are the right materials that we have required. And then they are issuing you with what? A certificate that now wait for your what? For your money. Mark you that Uti is here. We've given money. Was it last year? Last year down the line. Only like, how much was it? Around Uti, was it 150 or 60,000 you supplied? It has taken 1.5, almost 2 years, Bansi. He has not been paid up to date, like down the line. So these issues, Bwana Director, we need to, you see, hapa chini vitu ni tofauti, but ofisini, nyinyi unasema kila kitu iko sawa. But here is whereby, even uti, kama sisi tungekuwa ya kwamba ni financial institution, tungeenda kubeba vitu zake. But as a group that we felt that Oti hajalipwa na amesupply mpaka saa hii kuna deni yetu.
Okay, asante sana for clarifying the issue about the inspection. So for you, you feel that the inspection work is done and completed. The challenge is in after getting the certificate of completion,
yes,
processing the payment.
The challenge is in the office.
But then I really want to hear your feedback on the communication. Do you get communication about delays? It's a yes or no?
It is no.
You don't get it.
Unafuatilia tu now physically. Okay. Kama pesa iko italipwa lini? Ngoja kesho. Ngoja next week. Na next week inakuwa next month. Ngoja next year. Mpaka amuti mimi nadanganyana. Juzi tu. Yes.
For that voice, tumesikia kutoka kwa contractors from the horse's mouth there. Allow me to go back to the director before we move on to the next question. We are just curious because you've explained the reasons why there are all these delays. But when we look at the ranking, Nakuru County seems to be up there in terms of not being able to pay our pending bills. And from the analysis we did, tumeona county tulitengeneza a payment schedule, a settlement plan. And we have not been implementing it. Why? What are some of the challenges that you're experiencing implementing the pending bills payment plan?
Okay. Thank you very much. On the pending bill, I want to start here by saying we have two categories of pending bills. We have what we call eligible pending bill, and then we have ineligible pending bills. When we talk of ineligible, it means yes, you did some contract, but the documentation is lacking key items which should be put for this payment now to be allowed to proceed. Eligible means it has all the documents. Now, the second thing we look for on the pending bill, you are told that counties work on a budget. In any particular year, we have an appropriation to pay the pending bills. This, if you come to our budget, you will get a clause which is saying debt resolution. That sum is supposed to pay pending bills. Now, if you check mostly, like in this year, you will find that what has been allocated to offset pending bill is around 350 million, vis-a-vis 1.4 billion. So you'll find that we are only able to offset 350 billion, the rest will have to be rolled over to another financial year because the allocation was so small. Now, the reason as to why you will find also we had so much pending bill, if you checked the graph from the presenter, you realized that in the initial years, 21, 22, that is where there are certain pending bills huge, although they are small amounts, but they were huge. Which are these pending bills? These are pending bills which were inherited from the defunct local authorities. Mind you what government does, government is a going concern. So we had to inherit all the debts. After inheriting those debts, most of them lacked proper documentation, but you cannot remove them from the books. You still maintain it because the debt is there, but the onus is with the recipient to vanish documents. Another reason why you find at the initial stage we also have more pending bills, when counties started, we had so much works which were being done by word of mouth. We used to call them roadside declarations, whereby the governors could tell you, do this road, bring these chairs. But now when you come to payment, we ask you, provide the documents. These people up to today, they are unable to provide the documents because nobody is agreeing to give you an LSO or an LPO. But the work you did, and you have even evidence, even the community are telling us the work was done. But in government, you can only pay based on paperwork. So that is one of the reasons, again, you find we have pending bills which have been in our books since the inception of the county. Now, the presenter told you one thing, that we have two categories. We have got recurrent and we have got development. You have seen our development pending bill is almost going down as though we are finishing them. Why? It's because for development, you roll over that money. What delays its payment is only supplementary, because you cannot issue a development which is not within the budget. Only those which happened in the previous years. For recurrent, this is where the problem is. In that, these recurrent are issued and they don't check the budget. And in recurrent, it is not specific. It only says stationary, or it only says training. But then now, when you have supplied us with the recurrent, towards the end of the year, if we have not paid, the law says any appropriation in recurrent lapses at the closure of the year, and we cannot carry forward recurrent. So we'll wait for an appropriation to pay it, and that payment will eat up your recurrent for the current year. Now, what happens with these people, why they don't, and that's why we are being forced to pay recurrent pending bill, is because if I pay recurrent pending bills now, I'm eating my recurrent vote. I'll be stuck in the middle of the year, there will be no funds. So they are very cautious in paying recurrent pending bills. That's why you are finding a tug of war in the payment of recurrent pending bills. Most people don't want to pay recurrent pending bills.
Okay. Yeah, and we hear you. A follow-up question I want to ask is, because my mind is still at the plan that we developed for pending bills. And there are all these internal dynamics that you have told us about. Then what I'm asking myself is that plan that we developed and submitted, was it realistic? Do you think it was realistic the way we submitted it? Or we should have taken more time to make it more realistic, considering the challenges you are sharing with us?
Now, in the plan, we prepare a plan. We prepare a plan for the whole of the pending bill, 1.4. Okay? Now, in this 1.4, the first check is I will only be able to pay what is within the budget. I've prepared a plan for 1.4. Assembly has appropriated for me 350 million. I cannot exceed 350 million. The others will still be rolled over and put in the next coming plan. Are you getting why we are not? Because we are also constrained by the budget.
Okay.
The other thing which keeps why you see our pending bills also rising, when it was presented here, you saw that on source revenue, we are not meeting the target. Now, if you don't meet the on source revenue target, the law is clear in that development is ring-fenced. In that, if you don't pay development, that money is carried forward. Now, I did not meet my own source revenue. Then, when now it comes to implementation, I'm finding a deficit. If that deficit exceeds recurrent, I'll have a deficit in development. Are you seeing where we have a problem? And that is why you will find that in recurrent, we come to the fourth quarter, we freeze the payments because we are already seeing we will not meet the on source revenue. So the suppliers of recurrent mostly will end up being pending bills because I did not meet my own source revenue. That's why it grows.
Okay, thank you. I'll come back to you on the issue of revenue. And just before we open it up to the audience, I just want Madam Linda to briefly tell us, because the director here has alluded to eligible and ineligible pending bills. How does the Chamber of Commerce prepare its members to understand and ensure that once they supply or once they are contractors to the county government, their bills do not end up on the ineligible list, which is perhaps inadequate documentation and all that, but that their bills are actually eligible.
Okay, as I stated earlier, I said we usually issue information, business information to our members. Also, we do continuous sensitization in collaboration with institutions, that is either national government, county government, like the other private sector institutions, whereby we continuously sensitize our members on how to be compliant. You might find a member who wants to tender and maybe they're not compliant on all the regulations that are required. So some of these institutions come and educate our members on how to be prepared for some of these future jobs as they prepare to supply, to contract, and also to do business with not only government, even private sector. And maybe I'll comment on the payment delay. Sometimes you find in government, those people responsible to even process your documents, you need to follow up, really follow up. It's like work. Even a simple just take this document, this receipt to the next office is work. If you're not there, your receipt will stay there. So you need to do real follow-up. That is a gap on the government side, and a gap on the supplier or the contractor is that sometimes we follow shortcuts. We need shortcuts. Maybe you are being told to supply to a certain organization. You don't do the whole paperwork. You just want to do very shoddy work so that you can get a lot of profits. So you don't go the straight way of getting an LPO the way it's supposed to be. You want shortcuts. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So we would just want to get a few questions from the audience. Let me see how many people would want to ask questions. We're going to make it very fast. Oh, wow. And then okay, we have 4 members, 5 people who want to ask questions. Please keep it brief, because we have really run out of time. So go straight to the question and then mention who you are directing your question to. Please help me.
We'll use this one.
Oh, you will use that? Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. So we can start with my friend there.
My question is to Director Finance. We are seeing very high pending bills in 100,000 and below. This means mostly it's startups or businesses which are owned by young persons. What are you doing intentionally to ensure that hizi startups zisikuwe zinafikisha 5 years zinafungwa juu? Mostly I'll direct to pending bills. And then after having a plan to pay pending bills last year, now it has almost tripled to 3, from 1 to 3. So maybe highlight what caused this high rise, because it's alarming since after plan sasa mambo ndo inaharibika zaidi. Yes, thank you.
Yangu pia inaenda kwa director kuhusu mambo na on source revenue projections. Why are we projecting an increase every year and we don't meet our targets? And on the same, if there are leakages probably in the collection of revenue, what are we doing to arrest these leakages?
Yangu pia inaenda kwa director. Mimi ni Morris Otieno, budget champion. Nataka kuuliza kwamba kwa hizi mambo ya pending bills, county yetu ya Nakuru inadai national government pesa ngapi ambayo hawajawapea, ndio sababu tuko na hizi pending bills. Hiyo ni moja. Ya pili na ya mwisho, ningetaka kujua hizi pending bills ambazo hazijalipwa kwa kaunti yetu ni ya kuanzia mwaka gani na mwaka gani na kwa sababu gani? Asante.
My question will go to the director as well. From what you have explained, it has come out clearly that there is a gap between the executive and the MCAs. So does it mean that the MCAs bring in the aspect of political interference in that they cannot work together to clear the pending bills?
Sasa huyu ameuliza swali yangu, but maybe from another angle. I first want to appreciate how the director has explained, and we can all see he knows exactly where the problem is, and you even have solutions. But that aspect of taking the budget to the county assembly, alafu wanaikata inakuwa nusu. Can you advise us to use the political way of handling it? Because it's affecting the young people. Now, ukisikia mambo ya garbage collection, I think they are favored because most of that work is done by the youth, and it has some political connotation to it. So our entrepreneurs wengine, can we handle it politically so that we can be able to offset the pending bills? Is that an advice you can give us? Oh.
Yeah, thank you. So my question goes to the director, and I have a question for Obama. So you talked about a critical stage, certification, so that the process can start. Is there a possible case of corruption at this point? Because someone might have submitted the whole documentation, but then there is a missing piece of the document. So that is one question. And in a case where there is no such evidence, what interventions are there, or what resolutions are there in the situation that that evidence or that document cannot be acquired? And maybe to ask Obama, what are there interventions, or what law can one use to have this resolved? Because you already did the work, there is no documentation, and you've used money already. So is there a law that protects, or is there a resolution committee that can help maybe have that resolved, and maybe so that it can be made eligible? Thank you.
Putting in mind that we have the chiefs of staffs who on a monthly basis, nasema hii kulingana na vile tumeelezewa, on a monthly basis wanapatianaga a comprehensive report that includes if there's any pending payment. What could be one of the hindrance that contributes? Is it that we have our revenue collection in Nakuru County imeenda chini zaidi? Na kama revenue yetu collection imeenda chini zaidi, what can we do as a residents of Nakuru County to ensure that revenue collection yetu imerudi pahali tulikuwa very high? Sindio, that is one. Two, wamongelea kuhusu mambo ya hizo pending bills, sindio, ambazo kwamba ziko. Sitaki kuduel na zile zilizopita za kitambo. For this term kuanzia 2022 mpaka saizi, ambazo kwamba ziko pending, wameweka mikakati gani kuhakikisha that all the service providers wanaweza kulipwa timely, putting in mind that some of us are consumers of the service providers ambao kwamba pesa zao mpaka saizi bado ziko in delay, and some people wamepelekwa kotini kwa sababu hawajaweza kulipa watu. Wanawezaje, ni mechanism gani wameweka kuhakikisha hawa watu hawajasukumwa kwa call, like the way OT atasukumwa kwa call kwa sababu hajalipa pesa za watu? We need to get that so that we can help each other collectively to ensure that easy gaps tunamaliza, because I believe that ndo tuweke budget allocation, lazima tukue tumeangalia our previous nini pesa tulitumia previously na pesa ambayo kama tumeingiza ni ngapi. Ndio tukifanya allocation, tunafanya allocation na uwezo ya pesa ambayo kwamba sisi kama Nakuru County tuko nayo.
So, and there's a question for Obama, just one, I will request that you give very quick responses, and there's a question for so perhaps because you are directed in the kind of motor, Tumpe Kachate, aweze respond, and there's some that actually provide.
Okay, thank you. The first question was high pending bills at the lower amounts. Now you will realize at the lower amounts, that is where most of the people are. The bigger people, those are higher contracts. And the higher contracts are well structured. Now at the lower, most of this pending bill, if you check our statistics as Nakuru County, The highest ranking in pending bills is the health. And in health, that is where we supply food, we supply everything. So you will realize that most of these small people are found in the health department. Now, if the health did not meet their revenue target, they had to fall in the pending bills category. Now, we have since tried as much as we can to straighten the operations of the health department. And what brought the cry was that, just as Obama had said, Madam had also said, we had a challenge at transition from the old government to the new government. So at the transition, we realized we were having so much pending bills in the health department. The hospital had to run. So what we did was to put a cutoff and say, can we hold these pending bills and use the revenue for continuity of service, pay those who are supplying as we set the pending bills also gradually. Because we were coming in a situation where we could not get suppliers because of lack of payment. So we could not use the revenue we are collecting to pay for the pending bills and hold the current suppliers. They were hesitant to supply. So currently, the people supplying in the health department are being paid. And I think most of you will attest, we have really streamlined the health department. They are now functioning. When you come to the other departments, the pending bills we have really tried on the lower category. They are very minimal currently. Because what we have done, and even when you come to the county currently, as we speak, currently we are only dwelling on pending bills. And we have said, can we treat pending bill as a first charge? And that is what is happening right now. And until currently, people are hesitant to supply because we are concentrating on pending bills. So we said, let's push the pending bills for now. Then maybe by third quarter, we now go back to the normal supplies. So that is what we have done. That is the strategy which is working currently. Yeah. So it will push these pending bills to a lower level. We wanted at least by the close of this financial year, we wanted to be below the 700 million mark. And I know we'll beat it. Now, plans for the pending bill. We have really made an elaborate plan. If you go to the department, they have supplied, each and every department was given an opportunity to bring the priority list. Out of our budget, we distributed that budget to all the departments. Each department was required to submit the priority list together with the documents, and that is what we are working on. And that is what will bring our pending bill down up to around 700, because what we have prioritized is to pay up to around 700. Then we go back to the normal operations. And I know most of you are suppliers. When you come to the county currently, you'll find we have very minimal activities. Those who have visited us, is because we are concentrating on the pending bills. Now, on-source revenue. Now, on-source revenue, if you check the statistic which was put there, when the county came into being, we were collecting 1.8 billion. The county has come, we have brought all other services on board, we are still at 1.8. What is it telling you? It is telling you we are not doing the correct thing. And what is bringing all this? One, politics. There is too much politics when it comes to revenue. There is too much waivers when it comes to revenue. And if we can all agree the way Kiambu, Nairobi are doing, that we pay the revenue to the county, even these pending bills will be offset within one financial year. Because we are able to triple that revenue. Because we cannot be where the local authorities were. We can't be there, and we are still there. So can we agree as Nakuru that we need to pay what belongs to the county? And this is us, the residents of Nakuru. We are totally refusing to pay what belongs to the county. The county has tried. What have we done to seal the gaps? One, we went into cashless. In that, we no longer exchange money. Even at parking, you only pay with your phone. We tried to seal up all the loopholes, even in the health. And I'm happy, health has also almost doubled their collection. But when you come to parking rates, the most notorious, and I will ask you people to check, house rents. Everybody who is staying in the county houses does not pay rent. And when you go to demand for that rent, you will be killed.
And I know that's a very long discussion.
Yes. Yes, it has political, yeah. So how do we enforce? That is where we are. You should actually call a forum so that we all agree that you cannot stay in a house for free. Surely, you cannot stay in a house for free. The other thing you need to check at the market rate of our products. A house in Nakuru, Moi Flats, you are paying 3,000, 3-bedroom house. Is it realistic? Yes. Ask them. And that 3,000 is not being paid. That is where we are. We should have that conversation to grow our county. So those are the problems affecting us, and that's why we are not able to give you the correct services. Then the other one was on the county government and the assembly. Yes. Now, I want to tell you one thing. We have got what we call the executive wing, and we have the MCS. Now, there is always a tug of war, and this is what makes the executive to fear. We have done the first budget, and that is what you will find even currently may be putting us to fear to put up a supplementary. Because when you put up a supplementary, that whole budget is distorted by the interest of the MCAs. We have always requested that why don't we put the first supplementary to be only for rollovers, do not affect the other things. But they have always refused. So that is the war. And they would like to muscle us. Mind you, if we don't give in to the assembly, they don't approve. So what do? You have to give in so that your budget is approved. What always also brings this, mind you, there is a lot of interest with the MCS because most of these projects are in the wards. And they have promised the people a lot of things. Now, one of the things you'll realize today, if we float, and this is just an example, if I float supplementary today, I will get that increased bursary by 20%. Is that bursary helping the county? It's not. Now, when you go to the same bursary, when you check at the people who are being allocated bursaries, the ordinary students are being given 2,000. Driving school is being given 10,000 per person. What are we doing? Even 20. And private schools are also being. So you are seeing what the executive is fearing. Because this bursary is actually championed by the members of the county assembly. So this is where the public needs to come in and say, can we do the right thing? And this is what is bringing the disconnect, whereby you'd rather protect and do the right thing than give them the opportunity to distort you as early as possible. So that is the disconnect we are having.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think you have touched on revenue.
Yes.
Perhaps as you make your closing remarks, we may not be able to continue with this conversation. We will continue it another day. But I think you have covered most of most of the questions that have
There was
been
something
asked.
there asked about certification of payments. And we wanted to highlight.
Okay.
Now, usually what happens, Treasury, we are just a conveyance. The real work in payments is at the departments. If you finish at the department, and this one I can give you for free, and your payment comes to Treasury, usually the longest we take is 2 to 3 weeks and we have done with that payment. But I know where the problem is at the departments. But this, us as Treasury, we cannot force them. We only wait. In Treasury, we have put our system such that we record from the time your payment hits the Treasury. And we have a movement schedule indicating in the time it has come. Once I get that movement schedule, I'm able even to locate where that payment is. And if it is more than 2 weeks, I always even wake up from my desk to follow who is lying on it or who is having that payment and why is it not moving. Usually in Treasury, if we have a problem, we return it to the department immediately. And all those who have tried to look for payments, in Treasury, we look for a forwarding letter. You must forward that payment with a forwarding. Once you have that forwarding, it indicates all the movement in Treasury. So usually, what we'll advise, try as much as possible to get your payment to leave the department. When it's at the Treasury, it is very safe.
Thank you so much for graciously handling the many questions. The best way we could. Unfortunately, I'll have to cut you short, and perhaps we just wrap up the discussion. I know Sharon has a question and Obama has a question. As you make your closing remark, please tell us, how do you think we can address this pending bills issue? Policy recommendations, what should change at the county level to ensure that we are actually clearing our pending bills? So Sharon, as you respond to Mwangi Muraya's question, please also give us your recommendation as you wrap up.
Okay, you had asked if we had done a research on revenue, on how much revenue. Okay. Sorry for our inconvenience, but we have not yet done the research. And yes, sometimes we do feel like we are there for the view, because if it were not so, I wouldn't be here alone. I would have my age mates here, more of the youth people in here. And also, I've been championing involvement of the youth with the government, because I've been writing a lot of formal letters to the government. I've been doing reports, registering of the youth, asking for the ID number, for the IDs, their numbers, but yet I cannot say there is a good response to that. And it's so sad to say that we are being brought back and forth. That's why sometimes we feel like we are not actually involved in the government. So thank you for that. And so, speaking for the youth, I'd say I'd like to recommend that they involve us more. Like, I wouldn't have to be writing a lot of formal letters and stuff like that to make the youth feel involved when it's actually not working. Okay? No, we go there, tunaambiwa leteni something, tulete kitu ingine. Tuambiwa mulete hii, ndo tuambie hivyo. It's been a year working on that.
Thank you very much. So we need to find ways of involving youth more. And I think it has come up with the conclusion that we need to improve the way we communicate with our suppliers. Yeah, your closing remark on...
Okay, my closing remark is maybe we need to come up with a policy, and this should come from the people. And this policy should actually be what allocation. Can we improve the allocation on the pending bills? And if it can be put that maybe just like we have percentages, that in any budget, a certain percentage should go towards pending bills. That will help in clearing the pending bills.
Okay, thank you. And I guess that policy should also look at the revenue, Linda?
Okay, from my side, that is the private sector. What I would encourage is let us join these associations for better negotiation, and it will also help the national and county government to have a coordinated communication or a coordinated approach as far as our tenders is concerned. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Obama, briefly, you respond to the question and then your recommendation.
Thank you. The question was asked about the policies or laws. Basically, in construction, we have Procurement and Disposal Act, which is we are guided by that. And we cannot go beyond that unless otherwise. And the problem is only on 60 days, then you can be given your money. But here, we are in Kenya, we are in Nakuru, that if I take these guys to court because of 60 days have elapsed, tomorrow they will not give me a job again. My recommendation is that our director talked about the revenue collection. But we are all aware that when you are doing a budget, you are giving out the provision, the revenue provision, whereby this will guide you also on the expenditures that had been used and then what you are expecting to collect for this particular year. But we have seen this director that 2023, 2022, 2023, 2023, 2024, up to now, the pending bill is only incurring and increasing. I'm thinking that we need not only to have a policy, but strengthening the existing policies, the gaps that has been realized in those policies. Like last year but one, kila mtu aliona ya kwamba in the office of director or the CEO, there are also those stamps, paid, received, whatever, but they are somewhere in somewhere's building ya kwamba those tax revenue collections, somebody somewhere are collecting this money na wanapeleka kuweka nini empowerment project ya even a certain ward, sindio? We need to bridge these gaps and policies so that we collect a total amount to service our to pay our pending bills. Lee Kinyanjui, I'm sorry to say this, to quote his name, aliwacha county Nakuru ikiwa on top, but in terms of revenue collection. But now wakati tumeingia, hii government tuko, ikarudi mpaka zero, eti hata Nyamira anatushinda kwa revenue collection. So bwana director, together in your department, kindly pull up your socks so that the revenue collection iwe juu. Nimesikia ukiongea kwamba waivers iko zaidi. We are only aware that waivers inafanyika kwa persons with disabilities in this county. Sindio ti? Lakini hii peke yake haiwezi affect the entire revenue collection. Thank you, Bansi.
Thank you. Did you make a recommendation?
Yes, those are the recommendations that have come in.
Okay, thank you very much, our very able panelists, for helping us have that discussion. So thank you, Sharon. Asante sana, Director Dan, for gracefully responding to our questions. Thank you very much, Madam Linda, for speaking on behalf of the private sector, and Mr. Obama for sharing your experience from the persons with disabilities perspective. And thank you so much to our audience for engaging our panelists. Thank you for the questions. They have enabled us to understand the situation on pending bills broadly. Asanteni sana. This conversation is a big one, isn't it? We cannot exhaust it within an hour, but we appreciate what we've been able to cover today, and we hope that we'll have another opportunity to do the same. Asanteni sana, and good afternoon to everyone. Wacha nirudishie mkubwa wangu microphone. Karibu sana. Sorry, we can go back to our seats.
Asante. As the conversation be